With no David? Oh, man.
Everybody ready? Y'all fire away.
What did you learn from the film that maybe you did have a feel for immediately after the game?
I thought that the protection was better, than you felt coming out of it. I thought they did a good job early on from a protection standpoint. We did have a couple of breakdowns later in the game. Obviously, we need to get those cleaned up. But, the guys up front did a good job. I thought they did a good job creating holes. The backs ran hard. So you saw the improvement that we were hoping for. We gotta finish some drives more with touchdowns. Move the ball well, put the ball in position to score points, but we got to get the ball in the end zone and take that pressure off our kicker.
Why do you think you guys are running the ball so much better over the last few games? It's like 4.7 yards per carry in the last.
I think a lot of it is too the backs. Those guys they're becoming more comfortable. You're playing two freshmen right now. They're starting to understand things. I thought Phil did a really good job in game of making adjustments. There was one that he missed. Then we came back to the same play or similar play later in the game, and he made the right cut. So they're just getting more comfortable with the scheme. Offensive line is doing a better job overall of communicating and making sure that we're all on the same page, targeting the right guys, coming off of our double teams at the proper time. So it's just that cohesion is starting to come together, and I think that's what's allowed us to be able to effectively run the ball.
Does it make it more encouraging that this is happening amid the continuing musical chairs in the offensive line?
Credit to Robbie and those guys up front, man. They've been under a lot of scrutiny here this season, and they've been those guys that just come to work every single day. Guys have been ready to step up. Obviously, our situation this week, obviously day to day with a couple of guys. Hopeful that we get them back, but that may mean some more guys got to step up. But the expectation doesn't change. The standard doesn't change. So I've been proud of those guys to be able to mix and match and play multiple spots. And that's not easy. When a guy's got to play a right tackle and got to be able to play left guard. Calls are different. Things happen faster, especially on the interior. So it's been encouraging, that we've been able to kind of stabilize the running game, make some improvements in the passing game. I thought, and again, I think all of that just plays together with everybody's confidence elevating, and that's really what we need on offense, is just continue to have our confidence grow because we know we're capable, and I think we've seen several instances of what we are capable of. We just got to make sure that we have that confidence to go out there and do it play after play.
That offensive line with everything that's happened, is it kind of amazing that there are 5 guys available each week? One guy leaves, another one's coming in.
Well, that's part of how you build your roster. You want to have about 12 to 15 guys on the offensive line, obviously spaced out different places in their career, so that you have a depth available. And it's just a credit to what Robbie's been able to do with a lot of those guys. Like you look at a guy like Rayburn. Rayburn's played center, played guard. He can even go out and play tackle for us. So just being able to cross-train those guys is you're preparing. You don't ever want to be in a situation like we are. But losing so many guys for the year, so many other guys have had to kind of cross-train and be ready. So, just proud of those guys. And we all know, in order for us to be what we want to be on offense, you gotta win in the trenches. And that's been where I think over the last couple of weeks, Pitt game, this game, I felt like our guys, won the trenches and gave us a chance.
It seems like the core of guys has been available in different situations, different guys, but you haven't had to go too deep because somebody's just barely ready.
Right. It's been mix or match, but proud of the guys like McFadden's played a lot of snaps. He's had to play a lot of snaps. Parks has had to play a lot of snaps, and most of the issues are interior wise, but just having the flexibility. Early on with Backhorst going to center, got us through for a little while until we could get Rayburn ready to go, and then Trotter comes back from injury. So, and also those guys too, man, pushing. Putnam. I'm brag on Putnam. Putnam twisted his ankle in the game, and he refused to come out and came back in and finished the game, on a hurt ankle. So that just shows you the commitment, and the toughness that those guys have up front, and how much they want to battle and how much they want to play for their teammates. So those guys are scrapping, they're battling, and we just gotta keep getting those guys back healthy when we can. Obviously, I don't know. Obviously, Bockhorst is done. Dietrich is done for the year. So there's guys we're not going to. John's done for the year. We're not going to get them back. But the ones that we do have, we gotta make sure that we get them to the game, get them healthy, and then have everybody ready to play multiple spots.
How do you feel like blocking the tight ends has been? It seems like it's improved.
You know, it's I would say this past game. Well, first of all, I think physically, they're doing a good job. They're sticking their face in there. Changed up a couple things, studying in the off season, just some of the targeting and kind of philosophy of what we're doing on our inside zone. Really trying to be more physical at the point of attack, so we can allow the cutback lane for the running back and not get washed. Davis sets the tempo for that, and all the other guys are kind of following in line. They understand what the expectation is. Technically, I didn't feel like we had our best game this past game, and a lot of that was we were doing a lot of the divide action zone stuff, and they were wrong arming and they were ducking and dodging, and we didn't get our hat across. But overall, I think they understand what the mindset needs to be blocking wise. They're taking pride in it, and I think that as well has helped us in the run game. And I think the receivers did a much better job on the perimeter, blocking. And you look at Phil's long run. First of all, I don't know how he gets through that hole he got through. And that's because before he tries to bounce it outside. So this time he said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and put my foot in the ground, and he squeaks through. But really what made the play is you got Ngata and you got Sage down the field blocking guys, 30 yards down the field. And so that's how you generate explosive plays, is when the receivers do a really, really good job on the perimeter, and I thought they did.
With the young backs, are you seeing them find some of the holes and cutback lanes now that they've learned?
Yeah, they're becoming a little bit more comfortable. And again, we've had to use multiple schemes because each team is different. And I thought Shipley in particular did a really good job on some of our outside zone stuff. Man, he found the cutbacks quick. He understood some of the midline stuff we were doing, so he's getting a better feel with every rep. Some of those cuts are new to him, but he looks like he's becoming more comfortable with those. Phil is, and again, Phil didn't get to play as much early on, so he's kind of a little bit behind Shipley, but he's very coachable. He's very, very natural, and I think he's much bigger and stronger than people realize, and he's got deceptive speed. So I think all of it's coming together for those guys. CJ's doing a tremendous job with those guys, having them ready to play each week.
Tony, with all the injuries, how do you practice during the week? As coaches, how do you try to make sure you're not too much of the guys that are there?
Right.
And try to have enough bodies.
Correct. So Coach Sweeney does a great job just from a holistic standpoint of, as we get into this season, he makes sure that he controls us by the amount of time that we practice. So he makes us be efficient with the reps. Up front, it's a challenge because you're rolling two groups. You got to have two groups constantly rolling throughout practice. So, several of those guys are having to take multiple reps with the first and the second unit. But if we're on a 5-minute period and I have 8 plays scripted in that 5 minutes, when we finish those 8 plays, we're done, and they'll catch a little break before we move on to the next period, just with that mindset of, hey, I could steal 2 or 3 more reps, but then that could actually hurt you on Saturday because those accumulate over the years. I mean, over the course of the week and the course of the season.
With the pick that DJ threw to Ngata,
Yeah.
He said after the game that was like his only read.
Yeah, so we've have some plays designed where we say, hey, we're going to this guy, no matter what. And then Ngata's got to do a good job of trying to make sure he becomes a defender and not get it picked off. But there's certain situations where we give him some reads, and then there's certain situations where we say, hey, we're going to throw this one up to this guy and see can he go make a play. Yep. So that was one of those ones where it was designed to go to Ngata there.
What did y'all see pre-snap that you liked? They like they had safety help.
They had safety help, but you had man coverage, and you got one of your best players in man coverage, and you were hoping that they were going to rotate a little bit, try to get them isolated to the field. So yeah, that's more on coaching than it is on DJ. Yep.
Is that a situation where DJ at times you see him lock on to one guy, where again it goes back to coaching? You got to teach him, even if you don't have a read over here, look a safety off.
Yep.
And then come back.
Correct, and all those things are just nuances. That's what we call the game within the game, and that's where that's where experience comes into play. You play the game within the game. You understand the totality of the call. You understand the situation, and for us it was, hey, let's try and give Ngata a shot. And worst case scenario, you throw one up, it's picked, it's like a punt. That's kind of the way the conversation we had on the headset after that play.
Do you feel like he does lock on a little too much?
At times there's some situations where you'd like for him to look off the safety, but then there's also other situations too where he has to get an early read on a guy. So you see he get an early read and then he's got to go. But again, that's where that you're asking about that play. That's us just trying to simplify some things for him too, so he doesn't have to scan the full field in certain situations. But he's growing, he's getting better. But those are things that he'll continue to work on. And that's tough as a quarterback too. You know, when you're in the heat of the battle and you're trying to play the game within the game, especially when things around you hadn't been as smooth as you like to, and everyone's saying don't force it, don't try and do too much. You know, he's done a good job of trying to balance some of that.
Aside from, I guess, Raver / Trotter, who do you feel most comfortable with 6 and 7 there for the depth?
So the depth.
In case things don't.
Yeah, so T.O.'s got to be ready to go, and then Mitchell Mays. You know, Mitchell Mays has got to be ready to go, and he's a guy that's predominantly been a tackle for us. But over the last couple of weeks, we've actually been putting him in practice at guard, getting him some work at guard, so that he could go both ways for us. And then you got center wise, you got Trent. Yep. Go ahead.
Back to the wide receivers blocking. How much improvement have they made? Was it a problem early? And who do you think are the best guys as far as blocking?
You know, I think EJ is probably the most physical guy. Man, he's a tough booger. You know, Bo's gotten better, and I think where Bo has improved is just pre-snap recognition and then just post-snap validation. You know, I think early on things were happening so fast, and you got a freshman out there, and you know he's just trying to get lined up. Next thing you know, the ball snapped, and here it comes. Well, if you hurry up and get lined up, you can process the structure. You know where your problems are. You've already processed the play, so that when the ball snapped, you can react. You know, Ross, you know, going back out to the field, you know, has done a good job for us. You know, and God is a physical guy. All of them are improving just from the standpoint of they're being challenged, and I think that they're playing consistently. But EJ, I would say, is probably the toughest and the most physical guy that we have blocking out the receivers.
Talk about adjusting going back out to the field. Is it development of Bo Collins, or what allowed that? Or why?
Well, that was you had Ngata back. You had Ngata back, and then you had a Joe, so you felt good about your 1-2 into the boundary. You know, Ross is probably most comfortable on the outside just because that's where he started his career. But we moved him to the inside because we had, you know, a bunch of guys coming into the season. You had Frank out there. But he's had to play all of them. But I think you saw just some of the things. If you watched him, man, he was playing a lot faster. He was much better with his releases. You know, he was making the back shoulder catch. So it was good to see him back out there on the perimeter. But really it was because you had Ngata back and you had a Joe. And now we can get Joe and we could get EJ and we could get Ross on the field at the same time.
Help me out, because I'm trying to educate myself.
Yeah.
The screen game, the
Yeah.
wide receiver screen game, has always been an extension of the run
Correct.
game.
Correct.
And so when I see it, to me, as an uneducated, I see it doesn't seem like it's working in the past. And I see, well, there's no Sammy Watkins or
Right.
David Scott,
Right.
Ray McLeod
Right.
running those screens. That's part
Right.
of it. And two, it seems like it's always out hat.
Right.
Or somebody misses a block.
Correct.
How do you guys get that better? Or does it matter, because really that's just a part of keeping the defense honest?
Right. So I think you approach it when you talk about any of the behind the line type of screens, whether it's a spot screen, whether it's a bubble screen. Really, like you said, that's an extension of your run game, and you're trying to control the box. You know, so if you got 6 hats in the box, right, to block, then you're trying to control number 7. Over the years, what you've seen is people have been like when Sammy, everybody was so scared of Sammy, everybody was going to play 15 yards off of Sammy. You could throw it out there with no blocking and he was going to get yards. But you're seeing people are more aggressive. You know, they're triggering on those things a lot faster. I think early on you had young guys out there not quite understanding the speed of the game, so we missed several blocks. Amari Rogers kind of brought that back last year, but he's that unique kind of guy like a Ray McLeod. You know, not every receiver is going to be a guy that's a short area quickness guy that can catch a screen and go 50, right? So I think it's a combination, and you see we've been trying to throw screens to everybody, right, just because of personnel available. So for us, you know, we count that as part of our rush yards, But the expectation is when you throw it out there, go get 4 yards. You get 4 yards, you keep us ahead of the chains, right? I think sometimes you get greedy and you want to throw it out there and go get 10. You want to go get 12. You want to have an explosive play. But for where we are right now with everything that's going on, it's more so, hey, let's make that extension of the run game, get what's there, get the 4 yards. And I think going forward, as guys continue to play, we get that continuity, we get guys in certain spots. Jay Ross is a guy that's really, really good at those screens, right? But he was playing in the boundary where you don't have those opportunities, right? You got to get him out there to the field. So it's a myriad of things, but I think you're on it in terms of understanding its extension of the run game, and the quarterback's got to make the right decision. And it's always that balance. Like we're watching the tape for Louisville, and we threw a couple out there, and we're like, man, if we handed that thing to Travis, he was going to hit his head on the goalpost. So it's always just kind of that balance, and you're really just trying to control a defender, right, to keep him out of the box so that you're not outnumbered.
Is that something that to me, because I don't see a body type of an Amari or a Ray, that you guys are talking about in recruiting about, hey, we've got a bunch of 6'2" guys.
Right.
Now let's go get that twitchy guy that can work.
Right. I think Speck was that guy, so Spector's really, really good at that. I think EJ, but EJ just needs some work at it. I don't know how much he did that in the past. He's got the twitch. So that is something that we've discussed in recruiting, just making sure that we have some multiple body types to kind of give us access to everything, that we have. And if you watched us over the years, we were always big into the boundary, big in the slot, and then small on the outside, right? Then Sammy came along, and then Sammy kind of changed it where you could have, but there's only one Sammy, And so then we went back to the Artavis and the Ray in that position, and then Jeff kind of evolved and said he wanted to be much bigger, on the perimeter, and so we moved those guys inside. You had our Hunter Renfro. So I think Speck was the guy that we were hoping, but obviously we haven't had him back. He could do it. Jay Ross can do it as well, but in his opportunities, we just weren't where we needed to be from an understanding and a technical standpoint on the perimeter because of youth. But hopefully going forward, as those guys continue to work together, and then we can also use some of those tight ends too out there to get some of the run schemes going. And I know there's one in particular. We threw it to Ross, and really, what happened there is, you switch alignments. Now the individual who has to make the call is different, and EJ was trying to communicate a call to Jake, but it was Jake's call, and so Jake blocked it the way Jake saw it, and EJ needed to come on. If EJ comes on, we're going to have a pretty good play right there. And then we also had a bubble screen out there to the field that they overloaded it, and then we handed it off, and Shipley went for about 10. So it's just a kind of balancing act, and we're aware of the things that we got to work on to improve there.
You mentioned being able to hear DJ talking in the
Yep.
headset
Yep.
On Saturday. I guess, do you feel like there's something that switched in him during practice where he was a little more vocal and that kind of showed during game time?
Right. I think he understands now fully what it means to be, the quarterback at Clemson University, right? Where I think a lot of people who haven't been here for a while, you come in the door and you're kind of riding on the success of, past groups. Well, each one of those groups had to create their own identity, right? And that's what he has to do, create his identity. Unfortunately, it's taken some adversity and probably some things that are uncomfortable to him, but now he's finding his own identity and he's battling, and he's not gonna cave to the pressure. He's gonna rise to the occasion and go lead, and so that's why you've seen him play better. From our perspective, I thought he managed the game well. I know there were some throwaways where people may want to be like, well, why is he throwing the ball away? What are we doing? Well, that's what the play required. We're moving the pocket. There's nothing there. Don't force it. Throw it away. We go to the next down. So he's making those improvements and he's leading. And I think the thing that we're most pleased with as coaches is when we had the strip sack fumble, right, for a touchdown, and then we get the ball back. Just the demeanor of the guys on the sideline was like, it was almost reminiscent of Deshaun when he said, hey, they gave us too much time. Those guys had a look in their eye that they were going to take the ball down the field and go score, which is something that is very, very positive for us offensively. That when we were in that situation, and it starts with the quarterback and all those guys believing that, hey, we're going to go find a way to go win this game and score a touchdown.
Do you feel like that post-game after Pitt was kind of maybe a turning point for DJ where something in him was just like, okay, I really have to step up now?
I think it probably happened before Pitt, but I do know, Coach Sweeney and him had a moment coming off the field, and I know that the Pitt fans weren't very nice to him, coming off the field, and sometimes those things can become motivation for you, right? But then also too, create some self-awareness and understanding of the responsibility that you have, the position that you're in, and then your duty is to respond. And what I know of DJ, he's going to respond the right way. And that's all he's done since this season, since he's been going through the things that he's had to deal with.
Tony, you said last week that you were hoping the way he would take it is kind of the way Marcus Tate did, where he would sit back, watch a little bit, and that helped him. Is that kind of what you saw with the responses? Do you feel like giving Tyson a couple series that did kind of did anything for him?
I think first and foremost it was big for Tyson, and was hoping to have get Tyson in a little bit more this game. But I felt in the first half, we were moving the ball. Right, I think we had, 4 straight potential scoring drives. I think a field goal, missed field goal, 2 touchdowns. So things were going good. DJ was kind of in rhythm. He was managing the system. But I think the biggest thing for DJ is as I was saying a second ago, just understanding the totality of his position and not being overwhelmed by it. Right, not making it bigger than what it is, not letting it affect him, and just go out and play football and have fun. And so I think it was for all the guys, just my greatest joy, right, is after the game being able to stand back in the locker room and watch the guys dance and watch the joy and the excitement and the smiles on their face, right? And I started to see that, as we finished warm-ups, addressing them before we went out on the game, that the guys were, they were playing, with the passion and the love and the fun was starting to come back.
You mentioned you plan to get Tyson in. What does he give you? What type of change after DJ might
Right. I think especially as in a quarterback run area, he does a good job there. Obviously, he can make all the throws. We saw that. He can manage the game. Very similar to DJ. I think that obviously DJ has more experience, but he definitely gives you an element to where you can neutralize hats in the run game.
Of course, you see a little bit of your younger self in a guy like Will Brown.
My younger self, yeah, just a scrappy guy that really shouldn't be out there competing with the guys he's competing with. Of course, and I love Will Brown, and it's just a testament. He's out there. He's our punt returner, and he's earned that. He's earned that by the way that he works. He's earned the credibility in the locker room. He's earned the trust of the coaches. He's in the master's program. I mean, he does everything. He does everything right. Probably a little bit smarter than me though, the younger me.
Brandon Spector any closer to, or is he probably?
Encouraging. I mean, he's out working and running, every single day. I don't know exactly what the timetable is on him, but I'm encouraged just by what I see him do, during practice, his ability to run. But I know our medical staff has been very, very thorough with his situation, man. They're turning over every single stone. And the biggest thing is to make sure that mentally, he feels good with where he is to be able to go out and play. Because physically, he looks like he's ready to go. But again, I don't sit in those conversations to know exactly, and I don't see when he's running, the entire time. I get to peek out there and see him move around. He's moving fast. I know that, but I don't know what the extent of it is.
With the speed of the game at this level, with defenders, how hard has it been for DJ to make the right read amid that speed?
Right. I don't.
As soon as he needs to.
I don't think it's been too difficult for him. I think there's some reads that there's multiple reads that you got to go through. That at times our protection, wouldn't allow us to go through. In this past game, didn't feel like he had many bad decisions. I think more of it was the protection, like the sack, all right, and the strip fumble. Everybody's going to look at DJ, but if you go watch the tape, right, he's expecting Davis, right, to break out, and Davis had enough room to break out. Well, Davis breaks in and he clutches the ball, right? So the ball should have been out. right? So that's more the issue of just the chemistry and the timing. And again, when you got guys in different spots doing different things, there's a lot of details, that you got to coach. And I got to do a better job with Davis of making sure he fully understands, that concept. That was something that we put in this week for him because we wanted to, try and feature him to a certain extent, because he's earned that. He's shown that he could be a big time playmaker for us.
Tony, I can't remember if it was Davis or not, but the play where DJ kind of starts running up like he's going to run and then he goes close to the time.
Yeah.
Was that Davis?
That was Davis.
That was open.
It was close, right? It was close. We were hoping that the safety, right, was going to play a little bit further off the hash, right? But he kind of pre-snap he aligned like a little bit tighter than we wanted, and then when the run action came, he squeezed a little bit. Now he could have possibly, right, but it was still kind of close because the safety was on the outside. Davis was kind of leaning. Davis should have stayed a little bit more vertical, right? Attack the inside shoulder of the safety, right, to hold him and let DJ bring him to the hash. Well, naturally, you're playing the game, you bluff a defender, and he's looking back running, so he just kind of leans this way, and then the free safety was sitting right there. Even though his eyes were over there, that's hard to see. You got him boxed in. He said, you know what? That's where we felt like he managed the game in the right way. He could have took a chance, right, but he rolled out, he threw it away, and we moved on to the next play.
Are there any questions on Zoom for Coach?
Hey Tony, this is Anna with Clemson 24/7. I don't know if Paul Teo got in the game. I don't think he did this past weekend.
He did.
You mentioned he did. Okay.
He did.
In order
Go
for
ahead.
him to take, I guess, the next step for you guys to trust him, maybe with a little bit more meaningful snaps, where does he need to improve the most?
Biggest thing for Tio is just the consistency in practice and in showing day in and day out that you can trust him. And unfortunate for him, I think it was a play where Trotter was out, Putnam was out. It was that series where I think it was a 2-minute series where we started the drive with the screen, and then we came back on third down trying to run the draw, and then he misses the guy on that play. And again, that's where those are the things where you got to trust him in practice to be able to do it, so he can get the more meaningful snaps. And in his defense, Tio can do it all now. Physically, he's got all the tools. It's just a matter of him being able to show in practice, right, that he can be trusted to go in and play either guard spot for us and then go produce at a high level.
Anything else on Zoom? Any other questions here?
Yeah.
You said Maka has deceptive speed. Are you referring to that initial burst he showed once he got through?
The burst and then just a lot of people, like that safety thought he had him, or whoever it was, the defender thought he had him, and all he got was like a piece of his towel. So he can roll for a big guy at 225 pounds, and he's very smooth, very fluid. As for a big guy, he's got really good feet, and he's only gonna get better. So I'm excited about that three-headed monster that CJ is gonna have for the next couple of years in Phil, Will, and Kobe. Yeah. Oh my gosh. No. So Louisville's a structure where they play to their personnel, right? So when you look at them on paper, you're going to see a D line that doesn't look like it's very big, but they're intentional with that. They move those guys every single play. They create a lot of disruption, even though statistically their numbers may not be, as high as what they're actually able to do. They create a lot of havoc. They can create TFLs. They can get to the quarterback. They're very, very multiple on the back end. I mean, we've seen just about every single coverage known to man. Like I know, going back to you, like cover three, I could say cover three. You're like, oh, that's cover three. It's 3 deep, 4 underneath. But we counted 11 versions of cover three, right, with different guys going in different spots, which when you're talking about quarterback reads, right, so you got to diagnose, right, 7 different versions of one coverage, right, because a play design may be good versus 2 of the two of the 7 for cover 3. You want to go to this side or over there. So that's been a little bit of a headache. And they're becoming a little bit more aggressive too. You watch them over the last couple of games. They're starting to bring a lot more pressure, right? So they're getting their linebackers involved, and so it's going to be a good challenge to be able to catch all the movement, right? Because they're going to start in an odd structure, but then they're going to move everywhere, and they got every kind of line twist, and that's an area where we've been good at times, but at other times we haven't been so good. So that's going to be a good challenge for us this week to get the scout team to replicate that, because they're going to do it a lot faster than we can show them with the scout team, because that's just not what the scouts do on a daily basis. So it's going to be a good week of preparation to get ready for these guys. They're playing at home. Their record's 4-4, but man, they've lost some really, really close games, gone down to the wire. I think they were tied with Wake Forest all the way down to the last minute of the game. So it's going to be a good challenge.
Scheme-wise, with some of the movement and stuff, anyone they remind you of that y'all played?
I'm trying to think. I tried to forget some of them games earlier in the season, but no, structurally. So structurally, Georgia Tech, except for they don't do the coverage variations on the back. They're not as much of the 3 safety. NC State structure similar, but again, they're not as much of the 3 safety. They're more of a 4-down odd team where they're taking 4-down personnel, reducing to the boundary, playing with a nickel Sam, right? But then they're going to play a lot of those coverages. So it's similar, but it's different than the other structures that we play, and they move a whole lot more than anybody that we've played so far.
Was there Mike as active the guys you've seen?
Mike, number 9, yeah, he's I think he's led their team in tackles the last 2 seasons, leading them right now. Matter of fact, came to camp here. I remember, kid from Mississippi, had a good camp. He was kind of a tweener coming out, safety, body type, went there, Mike played a lot of football for him. He gets them lined up. He's kind of their heart and soul. He's had to play both of the inside spots, I guess, with some injuries. Number 7, was a guy that I remember from 2 years ago. Unfortunately, he's out for the year. And then 24 has been starting for him, but something happened. He was out the first half last week, and they played 44. 44 is a good player. And so they do a good job. And they're aggressive. Their safeties are big, run the alley. And so you got to hat them up. There's going to be some creases, and this is where the young backs are going to have to be really, really disciplined this week, is because of all the movement, right? You're not going to get, the double teams that knock the first guy into the second level and snap off, and you can press your track, and then expect it to be somewhere. You're going to have your eyes, moving and dialed in, and as soon as you see a crease, you got to put your foot in the ground and hit it and be ready for some dirty yards. Like we like to say, them 4-yard runs are going to be good runs in this game.